Good, good day, everyone. Welcome to the sixth episode in our goals and target series. We've gone through 5 episodes. We talked about um, the difference between goals and targets. We talked about doing the math. We talked about in our previous episodes. We also talked about who you need, right? Contracts and all, contacts and all. And then we talked about what do you need to know. So the 5 things you need to know. So you can check them out in the previous series. And then the last one before this was the fifth one. We talked about execution. So what are the things that would hinder you and what you need to do to get through to those goals and targets? So with me on the call here is before I do that. So today we are talking about the money formula. So we're executing to get money and to get funds, right? We're executing to get the money bag, to get the bag. That's why we execute, right? So we don't just set goals and targets for just for the sake of setting them. We are setting them if it's a financial goal to get to that money bag, right? So we are talking about the money formula, right? And with me on the call is Mr. Austin Mockley, and we are going to delve deep for the next 15, 20, 25 minutes max. We're going to delve deep into this this money formula. And so according to Grant Cardone, he brought a very good insight where he talked about to get the money formula, 3 things that you need to have. Right? So attitude, called AQ, attitude, approach, and action, which has to do with activity, right? So attitude has to do with what it has to come from within, right? So they say your attitude determines your altitude, right? So people say your attitude actually is better than even your product, right? So however your attitude is perceived is how people relate with you, right? And then the approach, this is how you do things, right? This is the manner in which you do stuff. And of course, action, you need to keep doing that to hit that money goal, to get that money back, right? So I'll just throw the I've given like a synopsis on attitude, on approach, and action, what you need to do to get this money back, money formula, right? So I'll just throw the I'll hand over the mic to Mr. Mockley, right, to just tell us what he thinks or his own thoughts on attitude, on approach, and action. All right. Thank you. All right, Mr. Mockley.
Okay, thank you very much. So this formula, I heard it from Grant Cardone first. I don't know if he was all coined it, but I think it makes sense. Your approach towards execution, getting things done, right? He calls it the money formula, but I think it applies to more sections of our life than just the money. But because they say money is not that important, but it ranks up there with oxygen. So I think that is important, as important as it gets, So, but so attitude, like you said, is everything, and not just attitude externally, but your attitude internally. Your internal environment will determine your external environment. Whether we like it or not, studies have proven and shown that we are magnets, and we draw what we passionately, intensively think about or fear. So even if you don't say, but because your subconscious acts as that magnet, whatever you allow into that system, that's why your attitude matters. The internal attitude first. It so matters because that environment determines what you draw in. So you are actually drawing in what you believe, and so it affects sales. If you believe that people will not pay you that much for this kind of product,
Okay.
it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because it's what's on the inside. It's really, the attitude of the mind, right? And if you believe that things are not working out, you're the only one who is not, things are not working out for in your sales or in your marketing or your business, it usually comes true, So, so attitude is one arm. I don't want to say attitude is everything, because you can have a very motivated boxer who is just an amateur who goes to face give me one of their names. This kickboxer. I forget his name. He's a Nigerian.
I know he's Adesanya. No, is that Adesanya? No. I know he's
Adesanya. Yes, Adesanya. Yes, he is Adesanya. Yes.
Yeah.
So, and you're just a motivated idiot. No matter how much you believe in, so that you can do it. If you can't do it, you need the training, you need the time, you need the experience, you need the coaching to be able to get there. So
that's the approach.
Anyway, but one leg of execution is the attitude, right? So the attitude really matters. You draw in what is on the inside of you. No matter what you want to believe, whatever higher power you subscribe to, these are the laws that I believe have been set in the universe, and you can tap into them to win. So your internal environment matters. Really, really, really matters what you tell yourself. You see, the motivational industry tries to use self-talk, what they call it, is it declarations, affirmations?
Affirmations.
Right? Yes, so you try to use affirmations to fix the internal environment. And because internal environments, what we call soul or subconscious, does not know good or bad, what is wrong or right, per se. I mean, it knows, but it knows what you tell it. True. And what you tell it consistently. And so it's the reason why on face value, affirmations to me don't work, but in the long run they work, because the internal environment keeps on hearing the same thing till it begins to believe it. True. And once it begins to believe it, anything is possible. Because somehow it just happens. You kind of open up to opportunities, and because we're spiritual beings, it just happens. Things just happen. I don't want to go into all that, but things just happen. And it just draws the things to you. Successful people in life are not just successful. There's also a connection of luck in it. There's some connection of providence. There's something inside, but it started from the inside, I believe. Right? So that is one. So that is the attitude. I would say your approach should speak to your approach matters in life. I mean, you can't, the way you can have your way in your home, you can't have your way in the courtroom like that.
Yeah.
There's an approach. Yes, you can't go and see the president and just behave anyhow. There's an approach, especially if you want something. If you go to the American embassy and you want your visa, that's not the time to be shouting, Allahu Akbar. Excuse me, all the Muslims. What I'm saying is that, because the Americans are afraid of, all these Muslims that are bombing and all that, that's not the time you go to appear like you're a bomber, is what I'm saying. I have nothing against Muslims or anything. So approach matters in everything. But now let's even take it down to so you see, what's the approach? Your sales process approach. What's your customer experience approach? What's your follow-up approach? What's your culture approach in your company? What is your whatever the approach is? The idea is that now break your whole system and ask yourself, where am I getting it wrong? Am I getting it right with my approach? Right. So that's what I would say about approach. And of course, the final most important one is getting into action. Right. Action, I think, is the easiest of them, but it eludes people the greatest. You see, one thing that I found out recently is that if many people who want to get something done will gravitates to information about how to get that thing done.
Okay. Yeah.
And it fools their minds
that they are taking action,
that they are getting the thing done.
Yeah.
It is really deceptive, because when you begin to get into the material, you're making notes, and maybe you are even, begin to set up one or two things. It gives you an impression that you're taking action. But I tell you that, especially in the world of business, you're only taking action when you're facing your customers. When your customers are getting to see you, and so even I don't know if I should say this here, some of the materials that we're putting out should change. We put it up on our our website and our podcast and everything, and that's a good place. But I'm thinking there are places to even put them in Facebook groups, put them in LinkedIn groups, because that's where the people are. So it's not just So it's not just enough to record the content. The action is to put them where the people are. So as long as your action is not in front of the right people who can take action, who can make decisions based on what you're offering, your action is BS. You're just deceiving yourself. It can be really deceptive. It came to me really yesterday that, well, it can be really deceptive. People get the books, they buy the courses, they're going through it, they call it the challenge. Yeah.
But until
if you are not in front of your customer, you haven't really taken action. So and of course this can touch different areas in your life, your family. So you say, I need to work on a great relationship with my wife, my children. You buy the books, you're reading them, you're very enlightened, you can teach it, but you're not doing it.
I'm not doing it. Okay.
You're not taking action. But it's very deceptive.
Yeah.
Right. So I think action it can be very deceptive, but get into action. And don't worry about, I have a little kid, and as you do too. And you find out she's been trying to talk since she was, I don't know, she's 1 year, 6 months now. But you see, she's attempting to talk, and we don't have a problem with that. Sure. She keeps on talking. We know she's going to talk. Sure. And so we wonder why. I mean, it's been over. So, and people talk at different ages. Sure. Right? And people walk at different ages. Right? But we're patient with them. The child stands up and falls, and we don't mind. And we get in, but the child is getting into action. The child keeps on saying things, whatever. Yeah. She makes one or two sounds that she understands, but she keeps on trying. She even has a conversation with you in baby language, right? Yeah. But she knows what you're talking about. But she's getting, and she keeps on doing, and she keeps on doing, and she keeps on doing. And then one of these days, the words begin to come together. And all of a sudden, it makes sense, right? And so I don't understand why we don't like to apply that in our business action. Because you have to do it, you have to fake it till you believe it, till it becomes a reality. Right? I've heard the 55 by 5 rule. Somebody, I think that's what it was called, 55 by 5 rule. So you would write, it's back to the affirmation talk now. You write your affirmations 55 times a day for 5 days, I think, something like that. 50, because it's 55 by 5, something like that. Okay. Write it on day 1, write it on day 2, write it on day 3, write it on day 4, write it on day 5. Yeah. And they say before it begins to sink in. So I'm saying in action, don't worry about if you're seeing results, just get in action, right? Just get in action, try the things, don't stop. If we say post videos in Facebook groups, go there and post. And if nobody responds, keep posting.
Just put it.
Keep posting, because somewhere along the line, you're going to get it right. Somebody's going to say something, somebody's going to advise you, somebody's going to ask the question, and then all of a sudden you're on the roll. Right? So keep doing it, get in action. I don't know if you want to talk about what you said about rating yourself. Okay. To know where you are problem. So if your team is not moving forward, you're actually having your team or yourself, you're not progressing. You're actually having an issue with one of these three.
One of these
it's
three.
either going to be your approach, or the action you're taking, or
the attitude,
or your attitude. Right. So if you can be really honest with yourself and grade yourself, for our listeners, grade yourself, say, hey, what would I rate myself from 0 to 10 on that attitude? What will I rate myself from 0 to 10 on my approach, and action? If you can't do it, you can't be really honest with yourself. So people are so dishonest, they can't even be honest with themselves.
They have an attitude.
Well, they don't see it. Here's the thing. It's hard for them to see it. So get third-party validation. And by the time you get 1, 2, 3 people saying the same thing, it should let you know that, okay, I perhaps need to work on this. So that's what I'll say to that.
Okay, so Zaini, you see, thank you so very much. I love the way you brought out the action part, and it's the honest truth, because once you see a material or information, you actually, people actually think taking action is buying that information, right? Going through it and then understanding it. But hello, that's just the beginning of the action. I'm not even you cannot count an action until you do it and you fail. So when you fail, right, you know that yes, okay, yeah, I actually tried this. I tried and it failed, right? And the truth is that the more you fail, the better you become at it. So the more you fail, you know that you're not supposed to do it that way, right? So I really like that. It opens opens the mind up to know that you do not. Buying that course is not it. Reading the course is not it. That's just an understanding. Knowing the course is not it. But is it knowledge on fire, right? Or is it action on ice is better than knowledge on fire? Something like that.
Knowledge on ice. No, sorry. Yeah, they say ignorance on ice.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Ignorance on fire.
Fire, yeah.
Is better than knowledge on ice.
Knowledge on ice. So yeah, something like that. So the main thing is to take the action.
Actually, that actually leads me to say that and Grant Cardone also said is that if your actions start with the actions, it will give you the attitude and the approach.
Yeah.
Yes, if you start with the action, you just keep doing the actions, and your attitude and approach will fall in place.
Yeah. And see, in terms
especially if you are constantly reviewing, evaluating, reviewing, like that. Yeah.
Helps a lot. And concerning the attitude, right? You see, like you said, some people are, or by let me not say some people, so it doesn't have referring to people. We can deceive ourselves, right? Thinking that we are making some form of improvement by buying that course, or purchasing that course, or reading that course. But the truth is that self-improvement does not come, or you cannot change unless you are self-aware. Meaning that you cannot improve on yourself unless you know what exactly is the issue, right? So
correct.
Yeah, so you need to know exactly what the issue. That's why the rating is there. So attitude, you rate yourself from 0 to 10. Approach, you rate yourself, and be honest with yourself, because you cannot improve unless you know exactly what to improve on. So attitude, you rate yourself from 0 to 10. Approach, you rate yourself from 0 to 10. Action, you rate yourself from 0 to 10. Right. So and the truth is that if your action is on point, right, your approach and your attitude would take care of itself. So I think that is. I also want to talk about something about the approach. The approach is, this is
okay.
how to do it, right? And it takes my mind to what culture is, because culture, in quotes, without bringing it to business, is the way of life, the way we do things, the way the way of life, the way we do things, right? And so if you bring it down to business, right? So the culture in the place is the approach, is how a company does something, right? It's how a company serves its customers. It's how a company does their internal processes. It's how a company does things within themselves or within the company, right? But to escalate that approach to a different stage or a higher stage is to bring that way you do something from the customer backward, right? So we start from the customer, right? So we start in quotes what we call the successful customer outcome. So we start from there and bring it back so that however we do whatever we do in the company is it's around the customer, right? So the approach that you say this is how we do it. Yes, this is how you do it, but you do it in such a way that it's around the customer. You walk back outside, walk backwards from the customer to enter, such that whatever you do, right, is around the customer, right? So bringing it to business, culture is the way of life, how we do things, but bring it to business. However you do, whatever you do is around the customer, then your approach would actually really make sense, right? And will get you the results that you want to get, right? So I just thought to bring that in with regard to approach, right?
Okay. I think, with systems, you get you can what I'm trying to say here is, so because you want to have a certain kind of action taking, you want to have the approach a certain way.
Yeah.
You want to have an attitude a certain way, and they're all inside culture.
Yeah.
But culture is not enough to be placed on a placard on the wall or in a document. For people to imbibe a culture, I think that there has to be rewards that are set in place. People fundamentally are animals.
Yeah.
And animals, when you're training animals, there's positive reinforcement and there's negative reinforcement.
Yeah.
Both work.
Yeah.
The better to me is the positive reinforcement, but both work.
Positive discipline.
You can get an animal to realize that he shouldn't cross that metal because anytime he touches it, it shocks him. There's electric, so he knows he shouldn't go there. The same way, the shark and all those animals that they train, anytime they do the good behavior, they're given a reward.
The reward, yeah.
Yeah, so the good behavior is rewarded.
Yeah.
Right. So the more you reward the attitudes and behaviors and attributes that you're looking for in culture, so that you don't just leave them to chance, but you intentionally set out rewards for that culture, for that behavior, for that you're looking for in that company, and you celebrate, that you reward, that you magnify those who exemplify that culture, the more it will stay. And once you decide on what the culture is that you want to imbibe in that place, anybody who doesn't fit to that culture, replace.
Yeah, true.
Or the worst case, make sure they're not customer facing. Sorry, the best case. That's the worst case. The best case is replace them.
Yeah. True.
So you hire for your culture. So people come in already by themselves like that. People are different. But there's always those out there who have the skill sets you're looking for, both technically and attitude-wise.
Yeah.
Some people are just positive by nature. They're just positive by nature and they still have the skill sets. So it's not just about getting an accountant or getting a salesman, but getting a positive, salesman who maybe likes to, So who has the culture? So HR, I think this also speaks to the HR people. It goes beyond, after you've gotten the culture person and the core values and, the core focus of the company, then you can direct people, then you can begin to hire based on that. You ask your questions based on that. You create scenarios based on that and see what their response will be. And then immediately you can tell if this person will be a fit or not in your company. If you'll be an addition or a subtraction. But I find many people only check out the technical expertise of the person. They don't check out the attitude expertise of the person. They don't check out, because attitudes are contagious disease. And a wrong attitude is, will I call it a disease? Maybe it's not a disease, but it's contagious, right? And it can infect other people around you.
Yeah.
So, but if you've got a motivated team, oh my.
Yeah.
Nothing can stop it for them. So a motivated team with the right material or system or process, even if they meet a wall, they're able to surmount it. So yeah, so that's why I wanted to speak on culture. There's much more on culture, structure and systems and all those things, but maybe on another day we'll talk about it.
Talk about it. Some people think culture is all this fluff and bring your dog to work and all those. No. That's that's not it. Okay, I think on another call we'll go really deep into culture, but today we're talking about the money formula, how to execute. So you need your attitude right, your approach right, and then your action right. And note a very high point or good point that we noted here in action, especially, is that you buying the course or reading the course, understanding the course is not action. It is action until you are practical about it in front of your customer, and you fail first 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, and then that's how you know you're taking action. And then to improve your attitude or approach, you need to know self-awareness is preceded by, starts first before self-improvement. Before you can improve on your attitude or your approach, you need to know exactly what is wrong with you, right? So, and then another high point is, if you take enough action, you can take care of your take care of your attitude and your approach. And don't forget
attitude and your approach. Yes.
Don't forget to also do like a test, is to rate yourself. On rates from 0 to 10 for approach, for attitude, and for your action. All right. So I think with that, we are done, and we hope to see you on the next episode. So that'll be episode 7. Yeah. So have a great day. Thank you, Mr. Murphy, for coming on the call. All right.
Thank you, man.
Yes, sir.